welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated to CBS's Big Brother Season 22 All-Stars. Now, like my other videos, I'm going to be doing a review and recap for the first part of this video, talking about the most recent episode of Big Brother, and then I'm going to give a hand signal and go into live feed updates. So let's start out where last episode left off, and that was everybody in the midst of the new HOH comp where everybody's trying to sink these 3 balls, and to an early lead, Kaysar sinks 2 balls on his first toss, and then he was able to get that 3rd ball, moving into the final round, the first one to do that. And you know what? He needs it. He's feeling the pressure. Janelle just walked out of here. He knows he's the next target, and he needs to win this HOH this week. Enzo and David advance with Ian and Day really close behind them. They each had 2 balls, but David and Enzo were able to sneak in with that win and move on to the 3rd heat. Now on to the 2nd heat, and we get Christmas sinking 2 balls early on, and all she has to do is sink 1 more and then she would be in the 3rd heat. However, that 3rd one was just not dropping, and Dani, Kevin, and Cody were able to move on to the 3rd and final round with Christmas and Memphis both having 2. They just could not sink their 3rd ball. Then we move on to the 3rd heat where Kaysar, Enzo, and David all sink a ball really early on, but Kaysar was the first one to sink 2 balls, and he is smelling that HOH room, smelling that safety, smelling the new deals that's going to get him further into the game. However, he just cannot sink that 3rd ball, and Enzo was able to sink, doing the bank off method off the side. He was able to hit 3 balls in before David or Kaysar, who each had 2, and Enzo wins HOH, keeping him safe, and he is going to just do whatever he wants. In the DR room, he's telling everybody that he is out for blood. He wants to go after everybody in this house. Doesn't matter who anybody is aligned with, he's gonna take a shot at them. We move on to the Hinky Votes. When Dani brought up to Cody a day before saying, hey, what if we both vote to keep Janelle, and then we could pin it on 2 people. Mainly she wanted to pin it on Devon and Bailey and make them a target for the rest of the alliance, but Cody's like, I don't want to do that. Let's just vote Janelle out and just move on with the week. We don't have to pin stuff on people. Come to the vote, Dani actually votes to keep Janelle in the game, and so does Enzo, but I don't think they were talking with one another and that they were on the same wavelength. So maybe that 2nd vote was a surprise to Dani as well. But Cody comes in after the vote and is like, hey, who did you get to vote with you? That was pretty crazy. And Dani instantly denies it, which it's too much of a coincidence. Why are you denying it right away? You can say, okay, I was one of the votes, but I don't know who the other vote is. I promise to you, Cody. But you can't one day say, hey, what if we do this? And then it happens, and then you instantly deny it when you actually had some involvement in it. I know she's trying to pin it on people, but she makes herself look really suspect. And Cody takes all of this information to Enzo, who's the new HOH, and they're talking about how of course she was trying to do that. Of course she was trying to pin on Devon and Bailey. And of course that's the kind of game she wants to play. Of course Enzo is not saying anything about the way he voted or that he was the one of the votes to keep Janelle in the game. But it's really shedding light on Dani's game, and it's just bringing Enzo and Cody's bond that much closer. Now speaking of Devon, let's move into a conversation that she had with Kaysar in the bathroom area, and this is where editing magic comes in because this conversation actually happened before the eviction, that both Janelle and Kaysar were still in this house when this conversation happened. But they get into a conversation, and Kaysar's talking about his religion and religion in general, and then that spins off into a conversation about George Floyd and the injustices of Breonna Taylor, and they are talking about so much more than just this game, about strategy, and they're actually learning more about each other, more about their perspectives, more about their experiences, their religions, their beliefs, and they're connecting on such a deeper level, and they're actually shedding tears having this conversation with one another. And this is one of the main reasons why Kaysar came back to the game, as he said on the live feeds many of times, that he came back to have these conversations, that they can be broadcasted on the live feeds, that they can be broadcasted to millions of people saying, hey, we can have these conversations, we can have these in-depth conversations and learn to grow and be with one another and to love one another. And this was just a very special moment. I really appreciated CBS for putting this out there and showing us this conversation that Davon and Kaysar were able to have. Then we move back into the game talk, and one of the main things to do right when somebody wins HOH is to decide who's going to be the have-nots for the week. So there's going to be 3 have-nots. Enzo picks Tyler, then Cody picks Davon, and Bailey picks Dani. So they are going to be the 3 have-nots for the week. Then we move into some game talk, and Enzo is talking to everybody about who should be in the nominations. We mainly see him talking to Cody, Christmas, and Kaysar. And Cody is really pushing this David or Kevin up next to Kaysar type of situation for the nomination ceremony. But Enzo's gonna do what he wants. He said it in the DR. He said it in the HOH room. He's gonna do whatever he wants. He'll take a shot at bigger threats if he wants to. He'll take a shot at Ian or anybody he wants to bathe in blood. He wants to do anything that he wants to because he doesn't care. He waited 10 years for this HOH. Psych, that's all kidding. We're all kidding here. He puts up Kaysar and Kevin, and that's who's nominated. Up on the block right now at this moment. There was really not a lot of footage they used from this week or for the past couple of days. Not a lot has happened because, hey, Enzo's HOH and he's just doing what everybody wants him to do, and that is putting up Kaysar and somebody as a quote-unquote pawn. But that's it for this episode. What did you think about this episode? Let me know that in the comments section below. Now I'm moving on to the live feed updates, and I'm going to start off with Veto players who were picked and the Veto competition results and all that good stuff. So if you do not want to be spoiled, move off now. But now let's get into it. The Veto players that played in the Veto were Enzo, Kaysar, Kevin, Bailey, David, and Tyler. Kevin won the power of Veto, so the Veto is going to be used. Kevin's going to take himself off the block, and Enzo is going to have to figure out a re-nominee. So people were talking for a couple of days about what Enzo is going to do, what could possibly happen. Bailey really tried to help Kaysar and say to Enzo, hey, why don't we put on somebody who's a bigger threat? Maybe like Dani. She's running this game. She has a great social game. Maybe if you put her up on the block, we can get her out, take out a big threat. Enzo wasn't hearing any of it. He doesn't want anybody out of this game except for Kaysar because that's exactly who his alliance and Cody wants out of his house right away. So he's thinking, why not put somebody up on the block who's going to be a pawn that everybody likes. So he's thinking about putting up his own alliance member of Christmas. Now he talked to Christmas. Christmas was a little apprehensive, but she is cool with it. And with that, his whole alliance, the 6-6 and everybody was like, cool, yeah, if you put up Christmas, nobody's gonna vote against her to take her out of this game. Everybody likes her. So at this moment, the Veto ceremony has not happened yet, but I can say with a probability of 99% that Kevin will use the power of Veto on himself, take himself off the block. Enzo's going to name Christmas as the re-nominee, and those two people are going to be sitting next to each other on Thursday night, and Kaysar is going to be evicted on Thursday, and he will be talking to Julie Chen, and then we're going to have a new HOH happening on Thursday. There's a lot of time between now and Thursday, but it seems to be locked in. Not a lot else has happened in this week. Everybody's not really caring about what happens this week since everything is pretty much locked in stone. They're really looking to next week and beyond. Something that was funny that happened was while in the backyard, someone yelled over the wall, Nicole and Cody are playing everyone, which forced a lockdown, which probably pissed everyone off. If you're watching the live feeds, you know that they're not getting the backyard more than like 2 or 3 days a week, so they are pissed when everything is on lockdown. So they had to be forced to be in a lockdown, so they lost the backyard for a good amount of time there. Kaysar is trying his best, really trying to push being able to stay. It's just not gonna work. Enzo is not listening to anybody except for himself and Cody, and his eyes have only one target, and that is Kaysar, and it looks like he is going to be the one out on Thursday. This plays well into the hands of Dani, Nicole, and Cody, as more people that aren't them are part of their really strong structured alliances. The more people that leave that aren't with them, they just get better and bigger in power. So for right now, with Kaysar leaving, they just get bigger in their own numbers and in their own way of staying in this game. But that is it for this episode, this video. What do you think about this episode of Big Brother? Let me know that in the comment section below. Are Are you excited that Kevin won the power veto? Are you like shocked that he won? Let me know that in the comment section below. And who do you think is going to be the re-nominee? And do you think people are going to try to sway to keep Kaysar in the game? Let me know that in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back really soon with more Big Brother content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.